of power. A never-before-documented, comprehensive series from India's Andaman and Nicobar Command (ANC) highlights the critical significance of the tri-service fortress islands, which some call the country's unsinkable aircraft carriers. We explore its strategic depth from remote islands to vital maritime choke points and witness the command's vigilance, securing India's interests against rising regional challenges. In Part 1, the Indian Navy, Army, Air Force and Coast Guard in joint exercises off and on Rutland Island.
Cabin crew to take off stations.
It's about a 2,500 kilometer, 3.5-hour flight from the pitch black Delhi night through sunrise to the Veer Savarkar International Airport in Sri Vijaya Puram, the capital of the Union Territory of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It was called Port Blair till September 2024.
All guests are requested to remain seated please and fasten the seatbelts.
A hazy window and landing against the light initially hide the island and its swanky and spotless airport.
Thank you for choosing to fly with us. In India, we never say goodbye, but always see you again, and we hope to do so soon. Namaste.
A modern terminal with enhanced capacity of 5 million passengers a year strengthens connectivity, boosting tourism and regional development. The dual civil-military use airport, its terminal inspired by seashells and also home to the naval air station INS Utkrosh, highlights India's strategic push in the Andamans. The islands significantly enhance India's ability to project force far from the mainland due to their strategic geographical location and the ongoing development of military and civil infrastructure. The ANC is located south of India's Southern Army Command and east of Eastern Naval Command. Sri Vijaya Puram is 1,302 kilometers or 703 nautical miles from Kolkata, 1,224 kilometers from Visakhapatnam and 1,362 kilometers from Chennai. It is closer to Yangon in Myanmar and Chittagong in Bangladesh than the Syam Prasad Mukherjee Port, Kolkata and the Vizag and Chennai ports. We head through the narrow streets of Sri Vijaya Puram to INS Jarawa, the naval base, and INS Saryu, which is to be our home away from home, at sea for the next 9 days. INS Saryu is an indigenously designed and built naval offshore patrol vessel, NOPV.
Command and bridge.
And her officers are busy in a briefing on the bridge before we cast off for the exercise with troops at Rutland Island.
Yes. Naval traffic, nil sir. Merchant traffic, nil sir. Visual fixing, forecastle, quarterdeck, anti-call, chief quartermaster, astro data says sunset is at 1651 and moon rays is at 2210. Moon phase 71%.
Both steering motors are on and ASP crew will remain closed up during the complete SSD. In case of a steering gear failure, as we already practiced, we will immediately change over to manual.
For the tenure of SSDs, videography team will be one personnel will be at forecastle, one will be at bridge top and one will be at hangar top. I'll be with the person who will be there. Safety gears have already been issued.
All the safety, more than the safety gear, you need to be clear of the
Ropes and
lines,
cables.
all the lines leading. The whiplash effect that can, there are people who have lost their limbs.
हम जो करते हुए आ रहे हैं वही कर रहे हैं, nothing different. Ensure that safety is paramount. Yes.
ठीक है.
End of the
The northernmost point of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is just 33 kilometers from Myanmar's Coco Islands. Reports and satellite imagery strongly suggest Chinese involvement in signals intelligence, SIGINT. China can monitor maritime traffic, naval movement, and missile testing from there. The runway at Coco has been extended for transport aircraft. Barracks have also been built, reportedly with Chinese personnel living on the island. The relationship between Chokfu and Sitwe ports, particularly in context of India's Kaladan project, also highlights a complex geopolitical landscape. Sitwe port is a crucial component of India's Kaladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project, KMTTP. It aims to provide an alternative route to India's northeastern states, bypassing the narrow vulnerable Siliguri corridor, also known as the Chicken's Neck. The KMTTP involves shipping goods from Kolkata to Sitwe, then transporting them via river and road to Mizoram and the northeast. Chokfu is the site of a deep-sea port and special economic zone (SEZ) developed by China. This project is a key part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, and the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, CMEC. It provides Beijing access to the Indian Ocean and an alternate route from West Asia to China and the reverse, bypassing the Malacca Strait. A critical oil and gas pipeline runs from the deep-sea port of Chokfu through Myanmar to Kunming in southwestern China. This pipeline gives China a vital energy route and reduces its reliance on sea lanes through the Malacca Strait.
We had this Kaladan project terminating at Sitwe. 105 kilometers from Sitwe, the Chinese have put up the Chakfu port. Now the Chakfu port by itself would have been more benign. You see CPEC, if you are saying that from Gwadar you will pump oil to Xinjiang against gravity, I think 2 super tankers would do it better and more economically. However, from Chakfu, that against gravity equation doesn't work, whether to Chengdu or other places. And a fair amount, fair is over 15% of their oil and gas is going from Chakfu into China. And we find that other than the Coco Island airstrip, there are other islands, some of it has come in media, where Chinese are developing submarine bases and other facilities. So these are not benign developments. Yes, they may be to protect their interests, and which is bona fide, everyone would look for it. But you would do that only if there is strategic significance of these islands. So that, I think, those activities explain themselves then.
Those activities also include nearly 80% of China's oil imports from West Asia and Africa, which sail through the Straits of Malacca. The close proximity to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands allows India to keep a very close eye on Chokfu port and any potential People's Liberation Army Navy plan vessel presence. The Thai Kra Canal or land, road and rail bridge, if either ever become reality, will let trade bypass the Malacca Strait, a crucial maritime choke point. The decades-old vision, which hasn't seen any on-the-ground movement, aims to connect the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea. Beijing is at the center of the push for this alternative as part of its maritime Silk Route linked to the BRI. Sri Vijaya Puram is just 738 kilometers from the Thai coast. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands' southernmost tip is just 166 kilometers from the Sabang port in Indonesia. India is in the initial stages of potentially developing the port. Singapore is 1,686 kilometers from Sri Vijaya Puram, and the capital itself is 1,426 kilometers from Hambantota port in the south of Sri Lanka.
Oh, the Andaman and Nicobar Island chain, it's an island chain which encompasses more than 750 kilometers north to south. They are actually closer to Singapore than they are to the Indian mainland. Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, or the Arakan landmass. These were important islands, strategically important. And when we became independent, Pakistan also laid state claim to them. And it was the India-Burma Committee which finally gave them to India. There were representations made by both sides, by Jinnah and Nehru. And finally they came to us. They became a part of the Republic in 1950 and a Union territory, I think it was 54 or 56. That is so much for their geographical location. But if you see the sea lanes of communication, the east-west lanes of communication which carry all the oil from the Middle East and the goods from the other direction, the sea lanes of communication pass through Singapore, through Malacca. And as school geography teaches us, equator is 0 degrees and you go northward 6 degrees. So 6 degrees channel is the channel of international shipping, which is just south of our southernmost point of these islands. So they have great strategic significance for us.
That strategic significance reflected in the island's position in the Bay of Bengal. It allows India to exert influence over critical sea lanes of communication, including the Malacca Strait. This choke point is vital for global trade, and control there enables India to monitor and potentially control maritime traffic. The archipelago provides India with forward operating bases, extending its maritime reach significantly. This allows for rapid deployment of tri-service assets, enhancing response times to regional contingencies. The islands also act as the first line of defense for India on its eastern maritime flank. They serve as a platform for advanced surveillance systems, enabling India to monitor maritime activity across a vast area. This is crucial for detecting and responding to potential threats, including those posed by rival naval powers. The expansion of airfields, the installation of advanced radar systems and underwater surveillance systems all contribute to this. The ANC is India's first and so far only joint service operational command, integrating naval, air and land forces. This facilitates coordinated operations and enhances overall force projection capabilities built over time.
We've had earlier in 1984 there was a Fortran, Fortress Commander Andaman Nicobar. It was a largely naval establishment with an air base and some infantry battalions, elements. After 71 war it became greater battalion moved there from Likabali. But coming back here, this Fortress Commander Andaman Nicobar was a naval appointment. He got upgraded from a 2-star to a 3-star in 1987. It was actually got empowered and came into its own after the Kargil Review Committee, those great deliberations which happened. And I thought it was great foresight. Dr. Subramaniam was the pioneer of the Kargil Review Committee and a great strategist. And that recommendation of the Kargil Review Committee was tabled in Parliament. The group of ministers concurred with their recommendations. And the Government of India thereafter authorized the creation of an integrated command called the Andaman Nicobar Command. 5th October 2001 it was raised, the first of the raisings. The headquarter ideas got raised at the same time. And this command is an integrated command of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and most importantly the Coast Guard. And in fact, a small paragraph on the command instructions, the raising direction of the command says very clearly, the operational command of the Andaman Nicobar Command, the Commander-in-Chief will function under the operational command of the CDS. And in 2001 they said, till a CDS is appointed, he will function under Chairman Chiefs of Staff Committee. So when the CDS did get appointed, 18 years late I dare say. So this integrated command, which is a purple command of all constituents, has come under the operational command of the CDS. It is all the military and uniformed forces, other than of course the police and the intelligence and the others who are under the administration. And there is one command authority with one joint operation center, and we work very closely with the administration to secure our interests.
Those interests include the Strait of Malacca, a critical gateway between the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Located between the Malay Peninsula and the Indonesian island of Sumatra, this narrow stretch of waterway is geographically the shortest path for container and cargo vessels journeying between Europe, West Asia, Africa, and East Asia. China's most significant challenge in the Indian Ocean is the Malacca dilemma. The Malacca Strait is a crucial maritime choke point. The potential of a naval blockade there by the US or Indian navies presents Beijing with a serious wartime economic security threat. This threat has led to China investing in alternative routes. The volume of trade that transits through this strait is staggering. $3.5 trillion of global trade navigates through its waters annually. This includes 2/3 of China's maritime trade volume and 1/3 of all worldwide trade. Moving from north to south of the islands, the Coco Channel separates Myanmar's Coco Islands from the North Andaman Island. It's a critical gateway to the Malacca Strait, allowing maritime traffic to flow between the Bay of Bengal and the Andaman Sea. The 10-degree channel separates the Andaman Islands from the Nicobar Islands. It's a critical passage for Indian naval and commercial vessels and is known for its sometimes rough seas. The 6-degree channel separates the Nicobar Islands from Indonesia's Sumatra Island. It's a very important location for India to monitor due to the large amount of international traffic that passes through the Malacca Strait. Sea lines of communication are crucial maritime pathways that connect nations, facilitating global trade. The Malacca, Sunda and Lombok Straits are particularly vital SLOCs in Southeast Asia. The Sunda Strait, located between the Indonesian islands of Java and Sumatra, is an alternative route to the Malacca Strait. It is shallower than the Malacca and therefore limits the size of vessels that can transit. The Lombok Strait, between the Indonesian islands of Bali and Lombok, is a deeper channel than the Malacca and Sunda Straits, allowing passage for larger vessels, including supertankers that cannot navigate the shallower straits. But both are longer and more expensive routes. It's just past 5 p.m, but being way east of the mainland, the sun has already set as INS Saryu prepares to cast off from Sri Vijaya Puram. All standard operating procedures, including the manning of the ship's mounted guns, are taking place. It's almost twilight as 2 tugs, including the Buland, perform what's called a button-up undocking process. The lights from the passenger and cargo vessel Sindhu, docked ahead, reflect in the shimmering water as the Saryu is gently maneuvered away from the jetty. The Saryu maintains a sharp physical and technical lookout to make its intentions clear to nearby traffic, including a tourist yacht. The importance of effective audio-visual and other communication, as well as predictable behavior, is essential to ensure the safety and efficiency of maritime operations like this one. Once clear of the jetty, the tugs peel off and the Saryu powers itself out of the harbour. The tricolour on a naval building makes for a pretty sight as we sail off slowly on our journey to Rutland Island. Initially, while undocking, the anchors are kept at positions that allow their quick deployment if there is any emergency need to stop the ship. But once in open waters, the anchors are raised to a position next to the ship's hull, as the Saryu can then sail full steam ahead.
Very good. 727 meters. Very good.
She spends the rest of the evening and night patrolling before we are scheduled to reach our drop-off point near Rutland Island at the crack of dawn. We are sailing to the southwest side of Rutland, only about 20 nautical miles south of the Sri Vijaya Puram harbour. It's a thickly forested island with a jetty in the north. According to the last census in 2011, it had 347 inhabitants. This Rutland beach has been chosen for the Naval, Army, Air Force and Coast Guard exercise because it has the most realistic conditions for an amphibious assault. Nearby are the uninhabited twin islands, separated at high tide but joined by a sandbar at low tide. Just about 20 nautical miles from Rutland is the North Sentinel Island. A tiny speck in the vast ocean, it's known as the world's most dangerous island, home to the Sentinelese, a tribe locked in time. They're estimated to be only 50 to 100 of them now living there, isolated for perhaps 30,000 years, maybe even longer. Think Stone Age. These hunter-gatherers want nothing to do with outsiders. Arrows fly if you get too close. A film crew, a lost convict, even a missionary, all met with fierce resistance, even death. Rutland luckily has no such deadly history. We wake up and are on the Saryu's quarterdeck at 4 a.m. the next day. Part of the Twin Islands are barely visible in the darkness before twilight as we wait for our pickup. An LCA, a landing craft assault, from the nearby LST, landing ship tank, INS Kesari.
रुक जा रुक जा
Every year, the Andaman and Nicobar Command puts its forces to the test. It's alternatively called Exercise Kavach one year and Dweep Shakti the next. The ANC uses ships, planes and all its other assets in real-life beach landings. The exercise we are documenting is the ANC treating Rutland Island as if it were an enemy stronghold. And the ANC is exercising how it would actually take the beach. The trip back to the Saryu is an equally adventurous one. Only about 32 of the 836 Andaman and Nicobar Islands are inhabited. But the archipelago covers an area of 8,249 square kilometers. They are spread over 850 kilometers with a coastline of 3,083.5 kilometers, which is 18% of India's coastline. And they encompass an exclusive economic zone of 600,000 plus square kilometers, 30% of the country's EEZ. Its area of responsibility, AOR, stretches from Malacca to Sitwe, with a strategically significant Air Defence Identification Zone, ADIZ, to monitor and identify aircraft approaching Indian airspace. Space, time and practice, they say, makes perfect. But a second disembarkation from INS Saryu hasn't really made the butterflies disappear for us landlubbers. It's pitch dark again as we wait with our hearts in our mouths for another ride to the Rutland beach. It's a pensive and apprehensive moment, and we wonder whether we can roll with the punches that the sea has in store for us. The ubiquitous announcement, "Very good," calms us to an extent as we wait on the quarterdeck that doubles up as a gym for the sailors. There's a slight drizzle as we leave the safety of our mothership with ominous, low-hanging clouds in the air.
Indicate there is flight delay. We will indicate currently all of our total onboard over flight 2. Once we are ready,
We pass the Twin Islands and some of the other ships that will take part in this beaching operation.
153, Mother.
Mother on 53.
Luckily, the weather is looking up and an orange sun beckons us as we pick up a familiar face and resume sailing to Rutland. After the churning in our stomach settles, our world turns back the right side up. When we reach the Rutland beach, where the ANC landing exercise is to take place. It's a flurry of activity, last-minute preparations for the simulated exercise of attacking and taking over the enemy-held beach. A Coast Guard Chetak flies in the Sincan, the Commander-in-Chief of the Andaman and Nicobar Command, Air Marshal Saju Balakrishnan. While an Air Force Mi-17 brings in the other ANC top brass. In any operation of this sort, first up are paratroopers. These ones, Naval Marine Commandos, MARCOS, in combat free fall from two Mi-17s. Their task, reconnaissance, intelligence, and using surprise from the sky to neutralize their targets.
Rohit, Vashisht, Mies will come from behind behind you. 810 to me.
The Mi-17s then simulate a beach strafing operation to soften up targets. A clearance diving unit, CDU, again surreptitiously using surprise, surveys the beach and its approach for obstacles, mines, or anything that could impede naval ships coming into the beach. The MARCOS then conduct Special Boat Operations (SBS) and simulate dealing with any defense or resistance on the beach.
Rohit, Vashisht. The markers are leaving, but the ships are about to come from your right, so watch out.
Next, an anti-submarine warfare ASW sanitization column moves in with water-jet fast attack craft, the INS Koradiv and the INS Cheriam. These ships maneuver in the area at random to confuse enemy submarines and make it difficult for them to attack the main landing ships. Both ships are indigenously built. They are named after islands in the Lakshadweep with the crests derived from Lord Vishnu's Vahana. This is followed by naval gunfire support, with ships simulating the bombardment of the beach to soften it up for landing by amphibious ships. The three major ships of this flotilla, the Kora-class INS Karmuk and the Kulish, and our mothership INS Saryu are part of this exercise.
Vashisht, you remember that island they are going to pass through that island? Straight line में उस island के सारे निकलेंगे. They don't leave, no need to fiddle around with your frame.
INS Karmuk, the fourth ship of the indigenous Kora-class missile corvettes, is capable of speeds in excess of 25 knots. The ship is fitted with an impressive array of weapons and sensors that include a medium-range gun, 30mm close-range guns, chaff launchers, and long-range surface-to-surface missiles. These enable the ship to perform a wide variety of roles, including sea and coastal patrol, coastal security, and surface warfare. The Karmuk is named after the mighty bow of Lord Indra, the Indradhanush. The ship's motto is, "Born for Battle." Indian naval ship Kulish, the third of the Kora-class missile corvettes built by Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited, is named after a battle axe used by Lord Indra. The crest design depicts the axe riding over sea waves. The ship's war cry, "Dushman ka jhukaye sheesh, Kulish, Kulish, Kulish." INS Saryu is an indigenously designed and built naval offshore patrol vessel class of ship. It is fitted with a medium-range gun and close-in anti-aircraft guns. It's designed to undertake fleet support operations, coastal and offshore patrolling, ocean surveillance monitoring of sea lines of communication and offshore assets, and escort duties.
only one input. The position from where we entered, जहाँ पर हमारा LC beach हुआ ना, right ahead उसी के position से वो they'll start turning. It will be 90-degree turn. Right now they'll come exactly on this heading, then they do a 90-degree turn, and then they'll.
The three, along with the two ASW sanitization ships, then sail away and form what's called a racetrack pattern, traveling in a rectangular formation about 5 nautical miles from land. Their firepower can be used again if and when needed. It's only after the defenses are softened up enough and threats removed that the landing ship tank large LSTL INS Kesari, fondly called the Elephant, sails in and does what's called a standoff beaching. INS Kesari, also an indigenously designed and built ship, is made to carry tanks, armored personnel carriers, guns, vehicles and troops. The ship's primary role is amphibious operations. It can also undertake coastal and offshore patrol, coastal security, HADR and logistic support operations. It is fitted with rocket launchers and anti-aircraft guns. It is capable of operating various types of helicopters, which gives the ship the capability to launch and recover troops through the sea as well as by aerial operations. In addition to its primary role, it can also act as a hospital ship with facilities in a containerized form. It's a prime example of the Make in India paradigm with respect to indigenous warship design and build capability, and has almost 90% indigenous components. The ship is named after the Indian lion. Its crest design depicts the head of a roaring lion against a sky blue background. Its motto, earnest in endeavor. About 1,000 meters from the beach, 2 BMPs, Russian-modified Boyevaya Machina Pikhotis or infantry fighting or combat vehicles, exit from the bows of the ship.
Rohit, more BMPs are going to come out, so keep an eye on those LCUs.
After sufficiently softening up the beach, Two landing craft utility, Lima 53 and 56, performed combat beaching, with dozens of troops following the BMPs into the attack. Key to the coordination, synchronicity and secrecy of the exercise, simulating a joint attack on the beach, is communication between the integrated units. Subsequently, INS Kesari also demonstrates its beaching capability before sailing away. The fag end of the beaching operation is brought up by LCUs, which embark BMPs and troops from the beach before leaving.
What we have today morning witnessed is the true amphibious capability of the Indian Armed Forces. You are aware that this is the only command which is amphibious in nature. And when you look closely at it, it is not just naval or army assets being involved in an amphibious activity. You have seen that Air Force was involved, and so was the Coast Guard. So it's a complete joint exercise by all elements of this command that we were trying to do today. It is also an objective being to demonstrate the resolve of our command to protect the territorial integrity of India and that of this island territory in specific at all costs. We have something called a Joint Operations Center, which orchestrates the entire battle scenario that we witness today. It's headed by a naval officer at the top, who is actually my deputy and called the Chief of Staff. Below him is an Air Force officer who is micromanaging the entire operations, and is also supported by elements of all forces. So this is the true spirit of jointmanship and an example for anybody who wants to emulate for the future theaterization.
That jointness provides a crucial counterbalancing presence to the increasing Chinese naval activity in the Indian Ocean. In fact, in 2016, the officiating Chinese ambassador in India is quoted as having said, "Someone in future may dispute the ownership of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands."
In 2016 April, where the officiating ambassador of China to India in Delhi made a statement to some diplomats that tomorrow someone can dispute the ownership. I mean, yes, अगर एक मछुआरे की डायरी पे आप Hainan Island and 9- line claim करते हैं because a fisherman in Hainan Islands made some diary and made 9 dashes, and you go even to the International Court of Justice who turns it down. But that's fishing in troubled waters.
More recently, also fishing in faraway waters, the first ever Chinese planned live fire exercises in February 2024, a stone's throw away from Australia's coasts. A perfect example of Beijing's intent and capability. In light of China's rising footprint, the ANC enables and is essential for India to safeguard its maritime interests and maintain a strategic foothold and springboard in the region. Test firing of the BrahMos supersonic missile in all its 3 avatars from land, sea and air takes place in the ANC. In January 2024, a test involved a coordinated salvo launch where missiles were fired in rapid succession. In essence, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the ANC base there act as a strategic force multiplier, enabling India to extend its influence and project power far beyond the mainland, bolstering its position as a key maritime power in the Indo-Pacific. On Rutland, beaching mission successful, the Sincan, ANC officers and the paratroopers fly back to Sri Vijaya Puram. The cleanup happens in a few blinks of the eye. As we set off back for the Saryu, in the company of almost 24 army men, there is finally an opportunity to let the adrenaline levels drop, even if only for a bit.
Keep capturing everything.
Papa 63 and Tango 71 to get them towards Lima 15.
लंबा रूट है तो मुझे पास कर चलो पुश ऑफ क्लियर सरयू में जाना है हमको We are currently maintaining alongside 53 request your current position will approach you
Tell him Papa 54 not 54
अरे LC 54 भी है भाई कंफ्यूजन आएगा पापा से बात है
Once back in the safety of our mothership, we look back at the beach attack and the coordination among so many moving parts of the Andaman and Nicobar Command. This jointness illustrated by the command's war cry, Sanghe Shakti. Together, we are stronger.